Center of Weirdness, a hilarious flight into the silly world of a podcast that might as well not exist. Josh and Skinner, two loners on a crusade to champion the cause of the dumb, the bad, the weird, in a world of programs that operate above the ratings.
Hello and welcome to Center of Weirdness, the weird podcast about very weird stuff, but mostly it's just about TV episodes. I'm Josh, and with me, as always, is Skinner. Hey, Skinner.
Hello, Josh. It's I, Garth Skinner.
Oh, no, you've been replaced. This is part of our Summer Nights series where we're talking about the Garthe and Goliath episodes of Knight Rider. A couple weeks back, we discussed Goliath, which was the two-parter that introduced the sort of pseudo-brother to Michael Knight, the doppelganger named Garth, and his impenetrable giant truck named Goliath. And they are back somehow. Goliath has returned, a line that is basically uttered in the episode, and which we made a joke about last time we talked about these characters. And yeah, we're here to talk about part one, Goliath Returns, that aired in February of 1984. Very exciting episode, much more exciting than the last time we talked about Garthe and Goliath, I'll say,
like last time, our major complaint among many complaints were it was fucking boring. And two, like everything that, like everyone has fun in acting, playing their evil twin, except David Hasselhoff, who did absolutely nothing. In this one, he talks more in part one that he did as Garth Knight than he did the entire two episodes. He's having some more fun. He has the worst beard you've ever seen, but it is at least this episode only has one driving padding scene. And two, it has an impenetrable plot, which is what you want from a confusing episode with two doppelgangers.
Yeah. They were like, all right, we had fun with one doppelganger in the first part. Well, they're back. Let's have another one because, they have a second person who has been doubled, which is great. So we open the episode in a prison yard where there's lots of guys lifting weights that are clearly plastic and jumping rope and arm wrestling. And we see a guy about to arm wrestle someone who flips around, and it's Garth wearing a horrible fake beard. He looks like Jack in some of those episodes of Lost where they have like the flash forwards where he's wearing that really bad beard.
He looks very Ten Commandments-y.
Yes, you pointed that out, and he looks exactly like Charlton Heston in the Ten Commandments. Like he's got a crazy big beard with his fluffy hair, and it's very silly looking. So there,
and Heart and Soul by Huey Lewis and is playing very, very faintly in the background. It's one of two actual songs played in the show.
Yeah,
I am shocked that it is one thing for a hit TV show to get the rights to very silently play these songs. And this one is actually very faint. And their music rights for TV shows were different then. How is this on the streaming?
I don't know, especially later on, because I don't think we talked about it in part one, but they play the Rolling Stones. I don't know if it's the Rolling Stones, but it's like a cover, right? Is it a cover or is it the actual song?
My sources last time seemed to think it was the actual song, but it doesn't quite sound that way, but also might just be the transfer.
Yeah, okay, so they play Gimme Shelter in the first part, in both episodes in the first part. And I don't think we mentioned it. It just kind of happens and goes around. And then they played it again in this episode when
Why is "Gimme Shelter"
Garth's it's
theme
his
song?
theme. It's his theme song. Apparently, they don't have any of the lyrics. They just have the music. But it's like, why did they decide this was his theme song? Like, that's very funny to me that is.
Because he's trying to escape from shelter, which is prison.
Had this already been popping up in movies at that point? Like, had Martin Scorsese already used it in some films at this point as to why? Or was Knight Rider the one who sort of started the trend of using this song in things?
Really, you have to pinpoint season 2 of Knight Rider for the career surgence for the first time of the Rolling Stones.
I mean, I guess it was a big part of the 1970 documentary film named "Gimme Shelter," which was about the Stones tour and everything. But I'm looking through here because this song it has a in popular culture section on Wikipedia, so I'm looking to see like when
they
it
mentioned
would
in
have
the fucking episode that no one remembers.
Yeah, I'm going to see if it is mentioned on here, and then when it would have shown up for the first time.
You do that. I like that in this prison scene, everyone's wearing these denim tuxedos as their prison outfits, like denim shirt, denim pants, very tight pants on Garth as usual. But there's one dude in a white t-shirt, short shorts, and pulled up striped socks, holding a football, and I'm like, how did that, like, what is that guy doing to get those privileges?
You know what? I think this might have been one of the first things to use it, because this was 84, I believe. Yeah, February of 84. And when you look through, it says that it's listed in Goodfellas, Casino, and The Departed, which are all 1990 or later. It's in Air America in 1990, Wild Palms in 93. I think 1987, Dear America Letters Home from Vietnam, which I think is maybe a documentary. So I think that Knight Rider was one of the first places to use this song as like a soundtrack for something.
It's laying down the future. God, man, it will never stop blowing my mind that, and mind you, this is now a long time ago, but in my head, the 90s are far more the present than the 80s. That technically Goodfellas is a 90s movie.
Yes.
Because it feels like it's been around forever. Because that means that they turned around and parodied it in with the Good Feathers and Animaniacs very quickly. When usually cartoons of that vintage were always parodying something from the 1970s for Gen X kids.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's his soundtrack theme. I'm wondering if we'll get it again in the second part of this storyline. That would be very funny.
Money's worth.
But yeah, so he's in the prison, and he suddenly just hears this rumbling and knows that it's Garth. Like, everybody else is like, what is that? Is that a helicopter or something? And he somehow knows that, oh, it's my resurrected semi-truck coming to break me out of prison.
What's great about this is at first everyone's confused, and then like, hey, it's for whatever Garth's special coating is, whatever his special sauce is, Goliath. I hate that their names are both just...
Garth also has a special coating.
He does. I'll just call Tanner. But like, in the end, it's just a slightly regular, overly oversized semi-truck.
Yeah.
There's nothing that special about it as far as like what it is and what it's shaped like or what it would sound like.
It feels like it would be not the right choice for something like this. Like, I get it that like it's supposed to be the contrast of Kit, and it's supposed to like be big and imposing, but you could just have done like, I look at it's funny now to think that you had to have that as opposed to where we are now with just regular consumer trucks, how big and imposing they are and how they don't really fit anywhere. And you could have just done one of those and it would have been scary enough.
Well, one, I know that this time frame loved their fucking trucks and their killdozers.
True.
And everything. But like, also it's when every time there's it's used, it's like, man, you could just drive away from it. like if you had a helicopter that could not be shot down, that it basically you couldn't shoot the blades, it wouldn't do anything or anywhere. Like there's no place that would affect it. Boy, that's a lot more useful than a semi truck.
Yeah, that you could just drive away from.
Yeah, you could just, but they can't, and that's the problem. Like we'll get to that scene, but like so in reality, it's just a semi truck is coming down the road, and everyone instantly knows shit's about to go down. I suppose maybe they all know that he's in prison for having a super truck.
Yeah, maybe.
Because immediately everyone has to be shepherded inside, and they start shooting this truck. Like they know it's an evil truck.
It was very funny to me.
It's so Transformers at this point.
Yeah, it's like, oh, did they not think like, oh, maybe it's like a person who got lost on the back road or something? Nope, no, he is a bad guy. We have to blow this thing away.
It's the Stunticons. They're gonna turn into Bruticus, but like it's fucking it. We were hoping it was driving itself.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it is driven by somebody who does not matter.
No, yeah, that guy's barely mentioned at all. He doesn't even. Like, we thought that he got kicked out of the car, but it's actually another prisoner who's trying to escape too. And Garth is like, "No, sir, only me.
You have to serve your time.
Yeah, give back to society, you asshole." But also, there's a huge hole in the wall, so prisoners could just run out if they wanted to.
So here was the question. We had the question of, would he be sent back to African prison? No, he's in regular American prison.
Yeah,
where they play Huey Lewis in the News.
Yeah, he faked his death there, so he's escaped, and they can't. They can't double jeopardy. They can't put him back in over there. But also he's somewhere relatively close to Michael. Like they wouldn't put him in another in another like facility. Yeah, many states away.
Technically, he broke a federal law, so he should be in a federal prison.
Yeah, sure, but. So he gets out, and we cut immediately to Michael, who's being told by Devin that he needs to protect basically Dr. Klaus Bergstrom, a Swedish scientist who is in town for a laser symposium.
Yes, he is the preeminent mind in satellite laser technology, and we know in this world that lasers do everything. We in fact see at the start during the credits, we didn't notice the first time, I don't think, that like a laser wand is just waved over a Kit.
In the
April,
shop, I think does that.
April O'Neil's just waving this little baton with like red lights in it. I'm like, what is that doing? It's just a baton with red lights in it.
Yeah. So Michael is kind of put off by this because he doesn't want to be a babysitter, but they need to.
They mentioned he has a niece, and that you immediately know what that means.
Oh yeah, basically they have to protect this guy because he has this. I guess his laser knowledge would be valuable to an enemy government, which kind of is the plot of the episode. And they need to protect him.
They do a terrible job of it.
Yes.
He's left alone immediately. Like when you're protecting somebody from enemy governments, you're with them 24/7. You don't want to put him in a regular hotel room where the ladies are all oohing and awing over him.
Yeah.
And then leave him alone for like to watch TV. Like what protection are they assisting him with? Because they're never around him after they meet him for the first time.
Well, I love this. This is one of those things that TV shows do a lot, where they kind of like they edit at a sort of line and then cut to the next scene where the conversation is continuing. But this one they do it all the time in shows, and if you even think about it for a second, you're like, wait, so did they just stop talking for the 20 minutes it took them to leave the office and get in the car? Like to get where they are. But in this case, Michael's like, I don't know a word of Swedish. And then it cuts to him walking along with the niece, Christina, who says, I don't either. It's like, how did he introduce himself? Hi, I'm Michael Knight. I don't know a word of Swedish. Do you talk English?
Very MAGA of him. But this is where we once again ran into our Knight Rider problem of how the fuck old is anybody? So we don't know how old Michael Knight is supposed to be. He could be 25 through 49.
Sure.
There's no wiki answer, no fandom answer that knows how old he's supposed to be. He apparently was in Vietnam, whatever that means. So he was at least of age to be drafted at that point. The niece is just, we're told a bazillion times, she just finished grad school. She doesn't speak any Swedish, so she in theory is low 20s, right?
Sure.
But she also could be 35 from the look of it. It depends on what distance you're at. Everyone in this episode looks kind of young from a distance and kind of old up close. And we've had this conversation of like, as a species, we have changed as like a literal species since the 80s, which seems crazy. But like the fact that we protect our skin from the sun a little more and we don't smoke nearly as much has changed everything.
Yeah, I think that definitely is what it is. Like it's that weird.
We stay inside so much more and we go to so many less bars or something.
We don't. So it's a weird thing. We don't. You're right. It 100%. It's we care more about our skin now. So more people use sunscreen for sure than they used to.
For sure. Like back then they would be using oil to
yes, to increase it. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I'm just getting color. Like, that's literally like a sunburn is when radiation has destroyed the cell structure on your skin.
Yeah,
that's what's happened.
They are spraying themselves with canola oil in the 80s, the 70s and 80s. But like, so it's so yeah, it is that. I think it is less smoking overall. I think that you're
not around smoke as much.
Yes.
Like you're never in a smoky room.
Exactly. You're not in a smoky room as much anymore. I mean, yes, there are people vaping, which is not good for your lungs, but it's also not poisoning the people around you.
It's not like people still smoke and stuff, and I'm sure it'll ebb and flow in popularity among young people for like the next 100 years as well. But like it is nothing like it was. Nothing. And like all I can think of, there's two things, we'll get back to the show in a second, that I'm just so glad changed in the early 90s, mid 90s, that didn't change in the age of social media and the current nightmare we live in. And that is seatbelt laws and secondhand smoke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because there is no way if they had stayed as long as they had and made it to the 2010s, that Republican politicians and talking heads and news channels wouldn't go like you can't take away my right to drive without a seatbelt. You can't take away my right to smoke.
Yeah,
it is just that happened. And they did fight it.
Yeah,
and they did fight it. Everyone's uncle fought it. Everyone's dad fought it. Like they pretend to wear seatbelts for years until like saw a cop and pulled it over their shoulder a bit. But like it is so ingrained now. But like if it wasn't, they'd be all like, oh, secondhand smoke is actually good for you. We're gonna wear a mask to keep it out. You fucking like it'd be like nonstop. The Ron DeSantis would be campaigning on it. It would be ridiculous.
Yeah, that they want to take away your freedoms to die in a head-on collision.
Like your freedom to fly through a sheet of glass that is supposed to be able to take impacts from rocks going at high speed.
Yeah,
instead your skull will go through it. That's your freedom. Like this. Like it is. And it's that sounds stupid, but I promise you, if this came up in 2010 instead of 1992, there is zero chance it wouldn't go all the way to the fucking Supreme Court and they would fucking fight it.
And then they would say that that they would, someone would
Joe
make
Rogan
up
would say something fucking stupid shit about it. And
this is how close we are to a horrible decision that the Supreme Court just made. But someone would make up a fake situation and the Supreme Court would go, yeah, we agree with that. You're right.
And then 2 days later, Twitter would fucking melt down. Like literally, not like the people be yelling about it. It would just, part of it would like literally turn in some servers they have there would turn to turn into liquid plastic, and the boss would tweet like, "I've installed a new rule. No pictures allowed on Twitter for 24 hours unless you pay for it, and it's only because the server that held all the fucking pictures is now a puddle on the ground. He doesn't know how to fix it."
I wonder if that would ever happen to Kit's operating system. It'd like get messed up so Michael could only ask it for like 600 things a day.
I wonder if what would happen if Kit was infected with the woke mind virus.
So they're kind of flirting a little bit, and they Devin gets a phone call and gets word that Garth has escaped.
They do nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's literally all Garth will want to do upon escaping is A, some mega crime, and B, kill these people.
Yeah, get revenge.
And then you're like, okay, wow, I thought they'd find out when he came and got them after them. But they find out immediately.
Yeah.
And then do Jack.
See,
and shit.
That's like a thing where they could have avoided him finding out. Like, don't find out yet and then be surprised by it. Like, again, they do some things better here, but then they undercut other things. So instead of
and once
him getting
again,
a call,
you could have him. He could
just find out later.
He could come in looking like Michael and tricking them. Instead, we get someone else entirely else being a trick switch.
Yeah, it's very weird. But we finally see where Garth ends up. He's in this limo. He drives up to a nice house. And there is a woman in a swimming pool. And Garth walks right up to the woman. We see his long walk from the house all the way up to the pool.
He's standing as tall as possible. His arms are on his side with his palms straight. He's walking like a zombie. It's hilarious that this is his how he acts as Garth. It's very funny. This is how he transforms his posture for this. But it really struck out to me, like when he was walking through here and walking up to her, you know, she's in water, and so will he be in a second. I thought, like, man, how tall is Hasselhoff? Dude is fucking 6'4",
yeah.
which in like 1982 parlance, he's 7'8".
Yeah, he's a big dude, but he
is a big fucking tall glass of water. Especially like he's way taller than everybody else in the show.
Yeah, he walks up to this woman, and then I kind of expect like he's gonna say something to her or whatever. No, he just walks right into the pool in his clothes and starts,
in his denim
and starts making out with her. He still has the big fake beard on. He's still dressed like he just got out of prison.
He just came from, receiving the 10 Commandments from Canadian Jesus.
They make out in the pool, and
she asks him, what do you? So she goes, so passionate. What do you love more, me or the freedom? And he's like, only a fool would answer that question. Back down your throat.
They do have his. It seems like they have his voice pitched down a little bit more.
It's so funny
because he's like, he sounds very deep. He kind of sounds like Buffalo Bill a little bit. And can you help me get this this couch into my van? I broke my arm here. But okay, so this woman, they obviously have some connection to her, and I had to look up who she was because she is someone who has been on this show before. She was in another season 2 episode, I think the 8th episode of season 2, called Soul Survivor. And this plays out, I think, with what the rest of the episode is going to, the rest of the storyline. She gets picked up by Michael on the side of the road when her car has broken down. And she insists that he come for a drink at her house. And then she plays some strange music and mesmerizes Michael while someone hacks into Kit's computer system. And they try to basically steal his like AI or something. And this leads, I kind of want to watch this episode because it says April restores what is left of Kit and temporarily installs him in a portable television set.
Just everything you said there is tremendous. Possibly the greatest like series of things ever explained.
Yeah. So
It's
I guess
this is Ann Turkel,
yes.
who did for like 10 years did a guest spot on like every show you would think they would: Street Hawk, Knight Rider, Night Court, Murphy Road, Silk Stockings, RoboCop the series,
Oh, cool.
Highlander the series. But more importantly, the ex-wife of Richard Harris.
Oh, that's interesting.
She a little bit of an age gap.
Yeah, she's as with most Hollywood relationships, I think. She's playing Adrienne Margot or Adrienne St. Clair. I think she goes by both names. But
Both names are fantastic.
Yeah, she apparently was like she had some dealings with one of the guys who was on the Flag's board of directors or something, and they're trying to steal an art collection in that episode. So now she's back to, I guess, potentially try to steal Kit's system again. And we think that she wants to.
This doesn't come up in part 1 at all.
No, because we kind of looked ahead a little bit, and it seems like she wants to put Kit's brain inside Goliath.
Would that make him like change his personality?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I'm hoping that we get to see at least a little bit of it. Like they start to do it, and we hear William Daniels do like a "I'm Goliath now, Michael. I'm going to kill you." Like,
I really hope that's that thing that happens.
yeah. So she also reveals this big important moment here that is, it's about this person who's got his face all bandaged up, and this is Dr. Moritz, supposedly, and they're doing some sort of chemical biological experiment on him where they are like putting some sort of blood droplets into him that is rewiring his brain or something.
I know the end result of what happens, which is they're making somebody into Dr. Klaus Bergstrom.
Yes.
But like it sounds like they're turning his brain into someone who knows everything about Bergstrom. They reprogram him through a liquid into his brain.
Yeah, something like that. They kind of explain it, but not really. And
this is like a fantastical world where you can steal faces very easily.
Yes.
Apparently.
So yeah, they are like changing his brain so that he knows everything that Dr. Bergstrom would know, which I don't know how they got that information. How did they get that knowledge?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
How would they be able to do that? They say
It's
he
all
knows
right. It's
everything up to the last 24 hours because they don't have that information, but they still don't explain how they got the other stuff from Dr. Bergstrom's brain.
It's like how ChatGPT doesn't know anything that has happened since 2021.
Yeah, that's basically it. So they have him ready to go basically because they're going to I guess use him to, like, basically what the plot is they're going to use him as a duplicate for some reason so that they can sell the real Dr. Bergstrom to a enemy government. They've already done it. They just have to deliver the goods and get payment. But they don't say exactly who that is yet.
They're trying to delay something. It's like I assume it's going to be a thing where this Klaus Bergstrom will seem to die at the press conference or something. Like if I was writing it and I was trying to make something that made sense, what I would have them do is this Klaus Bergstrom either dies because he's just somebody they turned into a fake version of him and is expendable, or fakes his death, and then they have sold the real one, or however how long they want to keep this going for. We don't like if he does know everything Klaus does, he should be equally as valuable. That's the real one, because he should also be an expert on lasers.
Yeah, it's unclear at this point in time what their plan is. Maybe he's going to go out there and just like do a really bad job and bomb the press conference, and the people are like, "We don't like this guy anymore. He's lost his touch," and then they just ignore him for the rest of his life. But
he likes football. Both of them like football. He knows that Dr. Klaus Bergstrom, a Swedish man who the entire episode his characterization is, "Look, isn't this America fun? It's so crazy." that he like the real when they were saying that the real one likes American football, I thought, well, the fake one is going to hate American football because he'll assume the Swedish person doesn't get it. No, they both love it.
No, yeah, they just love American football. This is like
instead they set up something else for the tell.
This episode was co-sponsored by the NFL.
The heart and soul of America.
Yeah, so we get a scene where a bunch of mercenary guys show up at the flag headquarters. They are sneaking up. They have guns, but they're sneaking around the grounds, getting close, and then just kind of do away with all that subterfuge and just burst through the doors.
It like they fall through the door. Like
yeah, like they've been thrown through the doors, basically.
They stumble through like fucking Jason Voorhees. It's so fun. Like arms swinging both sides. Like it's almost like the actors were told it was going to be sugar glass, and it turned out it was actually Gorilla Glass. And they're like, they had to improvise at that moment. Like, I really have to like put some force in to get it literally breaking a real door.
Yeah, and they attack everybody who's there. And they end up kidnapping Devin and April. Garth shows up, and he's, of course, really,
he has his cane gun.
He does have his cane gun, which he finally uses again after we saw it one time in the first storyline. He uses it at the beginning of that one episode, and then never again. This one, he finally does fire off a blast and shoot a vase on the wall. And, like we said, he's hamming it up, but in a really good way. This performance is much more fun than the previous one. I don't know. It's weird that he hated playing this character. Like it's very funny that Hasselhoff didn't like playing Garth.
It's so the opposite of how everyone else works. So, but at the same time, Hasselhoff is such a, I don't think of him as an actor so much as a presence. So like, I don't think he's in it for the art. So I think like his thing is like, hey, this show is here to make me look good, and then I reap the benefits of everyone thinking I'm the coolest guy in the world as I walk around the rest of my real life afterwards.
Yeah,
I want to do the least amount of stuff on set, and I want to just be like, the whole point of the show and of Baywatch is to, hey, isn't David Hasselhoff so fucking cool?
Yeah.
Like the actual like craft of acting disinterests him completely.
Yeah, apparently. It's very funny. Also, I got a lot of the story beats from the fandom Knight Rider page, and a good piece of trivia on this page is that Garth Knight was portrayed by David Hasselhoff, who also played Michael Knight.
Really? I didn't. They seemed so different.
Yeah, they did such a good job with that. But yeah, so Michael shows up here at Flag headquarters, and he realizes something's wrong and goes in and is told that Garth has kidnapped Devin and April, and Michael finds some droplets of like radiator fluid or something on the ground, and he tells Kit to follow it because that'll obviously lead them to where Devin and April are. And it's like, this is clearly a trap, Michael, you fucking idiot.
And it turns out, but a lot of time, we get to see a lot of driving, and a lot of time has passed. It is a trap.
Yeah, it's so stupid. But at the same time, he's following some radiator fluid drips on the highway. Garth has taken Devin and April to see Adrian, and she's the one again who rebuilt Garth. But they also thought that she was in prison, and she's like, nope, of course not.
I'm rich. Basically, her explanation is she's rich, and that passes muster.
Yeah, exactly. But like Garth and Adrian, I think even though they're kind of partners here, they both have sort of alternative reasonings behind what they're trying to do. Obviously, Adrian wants Michael Knight alive. Garth wants him dead. And so there's a little bit of conflict here where they, kind of are trying to both get what they want. And there's some fun scenes of Devin and April trying to escape. But they, of course, they're just like, he has like a file from somewhere that he's trying to hack through these bars.
that goes nowhere.
Yeah, it goes nowhere. I think that
Garth comes in and goes like, "I know you're doing this.
Yeah.
I am the master prisoner."
Yeah, I'm the master of escaping from cells, and you're never going to do it. And
Devin can't get anything done anyway.
No, Devin is useless, as we've already mentioned. No mention of Garth's mom here. I guess she, like we said, she died when that tent fell on her.
Well, I mean, it fell on her head.
True.
I mean, she could still be there. It's very hot in there.
She probably, like a bird, she thinks it's nighttime and has just been asleep the whole time.
It's very funny. It's very good. I don't need her back. We have a much better villainess this time.
Yeah. So Garth this is when he brings in the fake Dr. Klaus, and kind of they think that maybe Dr. Klaus has been brainwashed or something. They don't realize that it's a double at this point. And earlier in the episode, the real Dr. Klaus Bergstrom had tripped on the curb and twisted his ankle, and has a bit of a limp. So this, we know immediately, is going to be the way that they tell them apart, or that Christina realizes that something is wrong. There's a little scene here with Klaus and Christina, and this is where he talks about loving American football so much. And she heads off to do her thing. But while she leaves, this is when the fake Dr. Klaus shows up, and they and Garth shows up and drugs the real one, and they try
chloroform him.
Yeah, they chloroform him, and they're going to escape, and they would have gotten away with it, and no one would have noticed if Christina hadn't gone down to the front desk where the clerk says, "Hey, aren't you the niece of Dr. Bergstrom?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then she's like, "Oh, he's very hot." And all the people here think so.
Like, I can't stress enough, he's just an old man.
Yes.
It is, if they had like mistaken Garth walking through as him.
Yeah.
But no, that's not what they're suggesting.
No, it's a very weird scene. It's like, oh, he was so hot. We were all distracted by how hot he was.
I can't understand it.
His perfect strides with no sign of a limp whatsoever.
And then so she comes back up and she sees in the elevator going down,
yes,
Garth, who looks like a man she knows, with a man in a wheelchair, dressed up like one of the fucking Ninja Turtles and like we have a spoiler for later when she actually talks to Michael and trying to figure out, because she has other reasons she thinks her uncle isn't her uncle. She never mentions this. So like the second time in a row of it, the third part of 4 parts, people see Garth, who looks like Michael, and they know both of them, and they never think that much of it.
No,
she mentions it. She mentions it in passing to Klaus, fake Klaus. We'll call him Claus. But like, it is so unbelievable that when Michael's there and she has all these things, like, I know this man isn't my uncle, but he looks like my uncle. I don't know what's going on. By the way, I saw your doppelganger in the elevator right outside the room right before I think perhaps my uncle was replaced by a doppelganger.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the thing where I think that's the time when you don't introduce that Garth is back. Like you like, maybe we don't know. I guess they would have already known because they kidnapped Devin in April earlier, but it could have been more of a shocker if she had brought it up then and been like, "Oh, or just mentioning it to Michael, so he's like, "Oh shit, Garth's involved." Like, all right, something's definitely up with your uncle. Like, as opposed to I don't know who's involved with this.
It's so funny because, like, here's this person. He is a man whose face is somebody else's face. But like, when they go through a whole thing with whether it's real Klaus or not, Michael's like, until this afternoon, I would never have believed you. Like, you're literally a someone surgically made to look like somebody else.
Yeah.
You are literally the same thing as Klaus.
Yeah, exactly.
too.
Like they don't again, it like we talked about in the last one, like that's a weird sort of like existential question that you would have to kind of ask about. You know, you ask yourself and think about like, oh, this face that I have that I look in the mirror at every day is not my face. This is not who I am. I've lived the most of my life looking like someone else, and now I look like the son of a guy who turns out to be a bad person. Like what like if I were Michael, I would be like cutting my face regularly to look different. Like give me some different surgery or something.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like the moment I find out that I have been made to look like a horrible psychopath who wants to kill me for my face, and I have met him and he's out there, and even in prison I know he's out there and he looks like me, I would do something.
Yeah.
To like
I would take a belt
dye
sander
my
to
hair
my face
maybe, or something. Like go like, yeah, I know you like to make my face. Can you hit the randomize button a bit?
Yeah.
And change like my cheeks.
Yeah, move my nose
or
down a little bit or something.
Or like at some point go to Dev and I'm like, oh man, Dev, I just have a question for you. What the fuck? Like I just was wondering about my whole face, and you know, my adopted dad make me look like his real son who he thought was dead. Like, I was just wondering what the fuck. Like, could you tell me like what the fuck? Because I'm really confused about why the fuck this happened.
Yeah.
This is really, really creepy. What am I doing with my entire life? What is my existence now? Why am I this guy? I thought it was someone random and new and restarted. I'm just somebody else who exists. I've met him. He's bad, but I've met him. So like, I'm now in someone else's parking spot in kind of life. So I was just really kind of curious about what the fuck.
I really hope that I was going to save this towards the end, but I kind of hope that in the second part of this, that, you know, Michael rips Garth's face off and he's like, I'm the only one who wears this face.
I was like, oh man, that'd be so sweet.
It's like Face Off. It's basically Face Off, except they look the same.
What would we really, you know, speaking of ripping out things, do you think like David Hasselhoff has ever like had a few beers, sitting there with a couple sandwiches, hanging out, watching TBS on a Sunday afternoon, and is like watching Roadhouse for the 15th time and thought like, man, what if Michael Knight would have ripped someone's throat out? Wouldn't that have been so fucking cool?
It absolutely would have been. Yeah, it's such a weird thing. Like Garth has to die at the end of this second part. Otherwise, why doesn't he return? Did he's so good at staying in prison this time? Like they don't. I mean, he has to get killed
underground where like there's no roads there.
I
So
guess
if there's no wall for some truck to smash through, is he like? He has no chance.
Yeah. They bury him in a underground, and since Goliath is not a backhoe, they're never gonna escape.
Or they send them to like an island.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Yeah, there's no roads, no ferries to get there, so he's fucked. Goliath is not a boat, so that would be night boat.
He's not a crime solving boat.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's a night boat, the crime causing boat. So Michael finally arrives at the destination where the radiator fluid has led him, and he finds a truck parked out in a field with April and Devin. But Kit lets him know, nope, sorry, those are polyurethane copies. They're not real.
When did they have the chance to make these? Why did they? It just
more doppelgangers here. We have mannequin doppelgangers. And I was thinking, oh, he's gonna get close enough and then it's gonna blow up or something. Like, oh, okay, that's something. They put a bomb in the fake truck and Michael's gonna run over to rescue them and it's gonna blow up. Like, okay, cool. But no, that's not what it is. He drives out into the field and it turns out this is like a bog or something, or some sort of swamp, because the car starts to sink into the ground.
It's quicksand because it's the 1980s.
Yes,
which we've all mentioned. We all assumed we would deal with more in our day-to-day life.
Yeah.
We never did. What I love in this one is, so they're sinking into the the quicksand or the bog. It's like lettuce soup.
Yeah.
They set out, one of his cool gadgets, which is a winch, and luckily it lands in the right place because he's not really aiming at all. And then it's very clear they're going to get out immediately because it's going to work perfectly fine. But like Kit has one of his existential dread moments of he's like, is this the great adios? Are we done for? And I'm like, you wouldn't die. Like, even if you were under the bog for fucking 2,000 years.
Yeah.
Is like, as long as you didn't rust, like they just put more power in you, you just like turn back on. Like, you're not going to die. You're fucking data on a disc.
Yeah, you
especially
were in a television before in a previous episode. They put you in a TV. You'll be fine.
Yeah, like you're not like going underwater. Like you're fine. Like you're like he would die.
Yeah,
you would listen to him die. But like, not for nothing. Kit, you're gonna watch everyone you love die. Like that's you're going to outlive them all by centuries.
But
even if you had the power of an Atari 2600 by the time 1997 rolls around.
I mean, I'm sure Kit's running on like nuclear power, probably like irradiating everyone around him. But not the good.
Outlive everybody.
Yeah, not the good nuclear power. The stuff that's like clean and we should be using probably today instead of fossil fuels. But no, we're gonna use the the old nuclear power, the Chernobyl era nuclear power. But yeah, he's able to escape this situation with no real danger.
No, like even he's like, they didn't think this would actually finish me. They just wanted to buy time. For what? Never really. Like, I guess he's not there when they did all the stuff like capturing Devin and capturing switching out Klaus, but also he wasn't going to be there anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
For somebody who was technically in charge of making sure enemy states didn't kidnap Klaus, he had to invite himself to hang out a little bit later with them, and even then he just left. They're like, he has other things to do. He's like, no, I don't. And like, I mean, he's supposed to be like protecting you, like not just from walking into the car into the building, but like he should be on a chair outside your door.
Yeah,
that's what protecting somebody who's like enemy states are after.
Yeah. I've been assigned as your kind of bodyguard for the time that you're here. Well, I'm going somewhere now. See you later.
Like, you can't get a hold of me. And like when he finds out that like she's not important in this episode. When Christina is calling him constantly because she's afraid, mind you, his job in theory is to protect Klaus from enemy states. That is his thing, not to hit on his niece, but to protect him. That was his job. He knows that Klaus is under real threat of, danger of being kidnapped. He looks at his phone and his niece has been calling worried the entire time. And he's basically like, what the fuck does she want? He's annoyed. He's like, I'll get back to her later.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because when he calls up the headquarters and they're like, yeah, Christina called and she seemed kind of worried. And he's like, well, I guess I'll go check it out.
It's like, this is like, you would be hours too late, no matter how fast you break the speed limit constantly.
It's also weird that they haven't put it together yet. Like, it seems like, oh, Devin and April were kidnapped. Garth escaped. And then also something weird is going on now. Like, Christina seems weirded out about some stuff. So maybe...
remember how like the first episode, the B and C plot, A and B plot immediately connected, and it did seem reasonably why.
Yeah.
But this one, like, they're connected, and it's very reasonable why they are. And Michael seems completely uninterested in the idea that they are connected.
Yeah, he doesn't put it together himself, but so
he like wants to tell Christine, like, fuck, I got things going on. Like, my friends were kidnapped. I'm like, they're kidnapped because of her uncle.
Yeah.
Like, this.
So he goes to see her, and she kind of reveals that something is off about her uncle. That he doesn't seem to have a limp anymore, and it just seems weird. So Michael goes up to see him, and he drops a little thing that only the real Dr. Klaus would know, which he says, sorry, I couldn't get you those Disneyland tickets. It'll be next week. And the fake Klaus responds, oh, that's fine. It's fine. And so they go out into the hallway, and he's like, I never mentioned Disneyland to him. And so they know immediately that it's a fake, and he wants Christina to kind of keep up appearances and not let on that they know. And he also gets Kit to trace any calls that go out of that hotel room, because he knows that like he's probably going to put out a call and say, oh, they might be on to me, and whatnot. So Kit does this, and they head out to the location where he traced the call. And of course, we find Goliath there. Goliath is speeding along the road, very reminiscent of their last confrontation. And Kit, is understandably worried.
And Michael says, hey, look for those weaknesses we found last time. And it's like, no, there are none anymore. He's been upgraded, or whatever he says.
Yeah.
And this is one of those dumb things. Like, so it reminded me of wrestling, because so many things do, where somebody comes in the ring and the wrestler who is being attacked by this monster bad guy acts like, I can't escape him. He's in the ring with me. Like, the ropes aren't things you could simply walk under from any angle. Like, you could simply slide under any of them, no matter where you're at, and get out. Wrestling logic. All they have to do is not be on the road. Maybe go slower. Because they act like we can't, there's a cliff nearby. Well, we can't, if we veer away from him, we'll go off the cliff. Well, there's also tons and tons of side road everywhere they film. All the shots, like, literally, he just has to go out in the grass a bit. And if he's scared about hitting the grass and spinning out, don't go so fast. There's literally nothing propelling him that just because Goliath is going fast, he also has to go fast. It is all of a sudden a 2-dimensional world where they are both in the same plane and can do nothing but occupy the same space.
It's a side-scroller video game now.
Exactly. And but what I didn't expect was what they do swerve out of the way. For some reason, he wants to use reverse turbo, which I guess is a really fancy word for not fast. But
slow it down completely. Reverse turbo, also known as brakes.
Yeah. And for no reason, because he's taken no damage, all of a sudden, all of Kit's systems don't work.
Yeah.
Literally nothing's happened. He's just kind of slipped on grass. And he goes off a cliff, spinning sideways like helicopter wings. And it's so funny. And like, they have so much time before we get the reveal shot that Kit, being magic, has a big flag branded parachute.
Yeah, it's actually really funny because I didn't realize that's what I didn't realize they were going with the parachute route as the car started to flip around, and there's just a huge explosion at the top of the car, and I'm like, whoa, what was that? And then the parachute blew out of the top of the car, which seems like if you have to explode something every time you use it, that seems like maybe think of a better way to deploy that technology.
He acts like this was his plan all along. He's like, my God, it worked just as I planned. I'm like, then why did you ask for reverse turbo?
But yeah, so the car slowly falls to the ground with the parachute, and it lands, and Michael gets out to remove the parachute, but unfortunately, there's a whole bunch of guys with guns there.
He acts like we got away, and he's like a couple yards away. Like, he's down the hill from them.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't fall that far.
Yeah, he didn't go that far. They could easily catch up with you if they really wanted to. And he sees,
or like Garth could just stop the truck and look at him, which he does from not that far away. And if he wanted to actually kill him for once, he could have just shot him. But he gets out of the car like, I'll take off this parachute from the top of the car and then just go along my way, like with no urgency whatsoever.
I mean, it is very similar to their last encounter where he, clipped Kit and then he just kind of let them go. Like, Kit just fell over and he's like, well, they're dead. I never have to deal with them again. And didn't finish the job. Didn't crush that car with his giant truck.
It was the penultimate glory before his penultimate glory.
That's true.
It wasn't time yet.
Yeah, the anti-penultimate glory. But yes, so Michael has been has been captured, and that is the end of Goliath Returns Part 1. So obviously we've got some big stuff coming in Part 2, I assume, since we know that Anne wants to what's her name? Anne Margaret? No, not Anne Margaret.
Her name is
Adrian Margot
St.
and Adrian St. Clair. That's right. She wants to do something with Kit's brain, clearly, because that's what happened last time. So interested to see where that goes. If they do put him inside of Goliath and he gets to talk in a funny voice, that would be really fun.
So, okay, I want to put on my Predictocast hat.
Oh, okay.
Which, we haven't been able to do for a while, but we are the best predictors of future content that we haven't seen in all of podcasts, right?
Yes.
Decades of this. We did our show for decades. You just trust me on it. I think, based on things that have been seeded in this episode, that they will put Kit inside Goliath, and Goliath will seem unstoppable.
Oh, okay.
Garth will seem unstoppable. However, we do have one secret thing on our side still if they can break him out. A man who has the ability to use satellite laser technology to take out Goliath.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
from space lasers.
Okay. So we're gonna have,
and then he's gonna change election results.
That's right. Yeah. That's why they have to protect this guy, because he'll get used to call an election.
He's gonna just change all the voting booths from space with space satellite lasers.
Yeah, everybody assumed that they were Jewish space lasers. They're actually Swedish space lasers.
It was a mistranslation from some Morse code they intercepted.
That's right. So,
it's not like them to blame the Jewish otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that is the end of Goliath Returns Part 1. We'll save our rating until we see how Part 2 goes. But I have to say, I'm excited to continue on. This first part, I think I can say that this first part was better than the entirety of the first storyline.
The first one, I kept looking at the clock, and this one, I was like, "Oh my god, there's 8 minutes left."
Yeah. They kind of really amped it up in a fun way, which I was happy about. Like they really, I mean, there's still plenty of missed opportunities, of course, because it wouldn't be Knight Rider if it wasn't.
If they don't realize the Garth performance is fucking laugh out loud funny, which I'm sure there's a 70% chance they don't. That is like on them, but as is, it is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's a lot of fun. I'm enjoying this one, much more. And I can't wait to see how they deal with Garth and Goliath again, because if they only just put Garth back in prison, it kind of feels like, well, why didn't he escape in the other 2 seasons? Like, why did he never come back? Because that's silly, because they've already destroyed Goliath once. They could do it again, but it can easily be rebuilt. But if they kill Garth, that at least puts some like finality on it.
They should change his face and make him look like a lady.
Ooh,
that'd be funny in the 80s way, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You turned me into a woman. No!
I honestly, I would be okay with that awful turn of events if it meant that we just got David Hasselhoff in a wig and like a dress or something.
That had to happen at least once in this show.
I'm sure he went undercover or something as a woman at some point. But I think that's going to do it for this episode of Center of Weirdness. Come back in a couple of weeks when we talk about the rest of Goliath Returns, and we close out our Summer Nights series. Been having fun so far. Gotten to see some fun, goofy ass shit, which I always love. But until next time, I've been Josh.
I've been Skinner. You won't believe where my brain's been put into.
And we want you to keep it weird out there this hot summer. Now, if you excuse me, I have to go watch some American football and drink a beer.
That's what Americans love.
Yeah. You can't watch American football without drinking a beer.
They should have like had him hold a beer and then smile at the screen right there.
Yeah.
Like a brand.
Hold a beer and talk about how much he loved in the NFL and Budweiser. You've been listening to Center of Weirdness. If you like this show, rate and review us wherever you find it, but especially on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to every episode at centerofweird.com, where you can also find all of the old Predictocast episodes. And if you want to get in touch with us to tell us about a show we should cover, hit us up on Twitter at Weird Center. As always, thanks for listening.